right side, we're looking at the main base of the German parent player. It's the one and only biggest of Gabriels, HeRoMaRinE.
He towers over this man who will try to knock him down in the bottom left. The red Protoss player from Cascade. He is SKillous. It's okay. I did a little run to grab some goldfish. Got to sustain for these shows before I order 1,000 pounds of chicken wings for tonight's game.
A man needs his monsters, Nate. What can I say? All right, Everdream is going to be our first battleground for this best of 5. It's already been obviously a pretty good tournament run for SKillous. I think he will look at a top 12 finish as like, all right, that was a pretty good performance. But obviously all of these guys, they want to break through. They want to have that very memorable tournament run. Like a top 12 finish is something we'll praise him for, and we'll talk about that in the future. But that's not something we'll remember. Next year. Like, we want to see somebody like SKillous eventually break into the top 4 or even get a top 3 finish in a tournament like this. That's incredibly difficult, especially in the European region, where you have guys like Esl, Rainer, Clem, HeRoMaRinE, Showtime. Then it already feels like the top 5 is so damn difficult to break into. But let's see if SKillous can make some magic happen. Gotta say, big shout out to HeRoMaRinE. He was rocking the Roddy portrait on Battle.net. I was like, nice icon, Gabe. He's like, well, hopefully this will be the start of a winning streak. I'm like, let's see.
The power of that Roddy icon. He's feeling it. Gabe's I enjoy celebrity status, Gabe, right? We did a lot of pumping up of him over the last year and a half. He's a great guy. He's been funny and pretty good to watch in a lot of stuff.
Sorry, mate, but there is a...
Is he doing the Marauder build again? Are we seeing the Marauder opening here?
That almost must be it, right? Yep. Yeah. It is going to be the Marauder build again. We obviously saw Marine Lord have a lot of success with this build on this map against Mana, but I don't really think that SKillous is going to be... Well, that was a bit different as well, because that was obviously off 1 base. This time it's going to be done off 2 bases, and it's also not a factory follow-up. It's a 2nd barracks. A very feisty opening coming out of HeRoMaRinE here.
Yeah, and I have to say, usually whenever I see this type of Marauder opening against Stargate, it ends up being pretty rough because you're not going to really just walk across the map with regular Marauders. And that's never what this build, at least in my opinion, never really what the focus of it should be. It's not me lagging this time.
It's our Russian Terran player, Creed.
It happens. It happens, ladies and gentlemen. The internet is a series of tubes that connects the world. And sometimes somebody is out digging in their backyard looking for gold, trying to get to the other side of the planet, and they hit a fiber drop and the entire country loses internet for 7 minutes. So they reroute it. It is something that we just have to deal with. So, but yeah, as I was saying, it's always interesting, right? You kind of get into these like weird build matchups in certain ways where you're like, I'm going to stop an early unit that comes and attacks or something else. And just a little bit of a notice that apparently there's some storms going down in that city. KB is letting us know. So it's possible that there's power outages or something like that. Been some crazy weather stuff across the world, or at least the US, I know, in the last couple of days. It's wild out here.
I believe that city would be St. Petersburg. That's where Creed is from, if I remember correctly. And I guess that's where KB or Kabi Rage is from as well. Well, the game is ready to continue. I gotta say, I am not the biggest fan of the build that Gabe is choosing here. Now, obviously, often when you say something like that, Marauders run to the other side of the map. There is no shield battery, and 7 probes go down. And we're like, oh my goodness, what a brilliant build. Most of the time when I see this opening, I feel like it doesn't get that much damage done. Against the Phoenix, though, Nate, that's perhaps the unit you want to face when you make a weird start like this. Because obviously, as a Protoss player, 1 gate, Stargate, Phoenix, you don't have a lot of units. And if this Adept shades into the Marauders, you're in trouble. I love that Gabe is hiding the Marauder, by the way. He's like, wait a minute, I think that Adept is shading. I don't want to reveal it yet. SKillous has no idea that this is happening. He's even warping in another Nexus. Oh, this could be some trouble.
I still think that with the Phoenix, I mean, he ended up having to show them. It's hard if he has them across the map, but if he pockets them at all, he still has the option to try and lift and get with the Stalker and the probes, because the Marauder just has no sustain. It's not a Reaper. It's not going to heal over time. You can't bring SCVs with it to repair, and he is going to get a couple of probe kills here as the second Phoenix comes out for the liftoff. But at the end of the day, I'm personally not a fan of this build either, Kevin, because I frankly don't think it can do very much of anything except stop like a very quick stalker scout. But since that wasn't what happened in this game, like if you go for this build, you're 100%, in my opinion, your biggest goal is that your opponent is going to walk a stalker that they would normally poke, right? And then the stalker usually heads home, but instead the Marauder tags it and it's just dead. But that's not what happened. I don't think 2 probes for 2 Marauders is a fantastic trade. But at the end of the day, it's also not the most committed, invested build. The real focus of doing a build like this is that crazy fast stim. That's the real reason why he would do this build, because what he wanted to do, in essence, was just a 2-1-1, but he didn't want to be very vulnerable. You know, he didn't want to have to build a bunker, basically, I guess, is probably what it boils down to.
Okay, SKillous needs to get a little careful here, if you ask me, because obviously he has spent already a lot of energy on these Phoenixes, and that means that they won't be very powerful defensively. I know that SKillous is a fan of the Phoenix Zealot opening with quick charge, and we can see he's firing up charge. But I actually think that HeRoMaRinE can hit a timing before charge is either done or before the Zealot count is really high. I mean, these Phoenixes are getting some proper damage done right now, but I'm still a bit worried, because if Gabe runs to the other side of the map right now, what is there really to fight this Stimp Bio army?
Not a whole lot. I mean, he's got a shield battery. There's only 1 pylon there, right? So with the overcharge, it's still a vulnerable target. A lot of gateways are being added that are going to end up lining up with this charge upgrade. I think the biggest problem was also, you have to keep in mind that he's just got 1 medevac with this army. He just has, there's just 1 medevac over here with this force. And he had to burn some of the energy on it because he stimmed his Marines earlier in this fight too. So this is definitely something to be worried about, because he may just lift up the Marauders and let the Zealots charge onto the Marines. Like I would assume that has to be somewhat of the goal here. But even then, the medevac's already lost 30% of its health before it even arrived.
I think I'm with you. I was worried that SKillous was too greedy, but I think Charge is about to finish up, and then he has got 6-7 gateways behind all of this. 2 more gates finishing up. He's got a shield battery as well. I actually think that SKillous should be more than fine here. HeRoMaRinE is going to have to micro this very carefully and try to get some big Wither Mine shots. The mines can maybe have a good impact here, but look at that. That's a 7 Zealot warp in, and at this point, SKillous has no fear. He's going to run into the rest of the army. The second mine actually repositioned, so it gets lifted, and SKillous gets a fantastic fight here already. HeRoMaRinE is in a bit of trouble here in game 1, Nick.
Oh, no, that was perfectly executed. He lifted the Marauders, and then the Marines don't have their meat shield to defend them anymore. And on a 3-base economy, you can build a lot of charged Zealots, Rotterdam, and the Phoenix are not going to make this any easier. I think he might just kill him right here, to be honest. He's got a fully saturated 3rd base, while the Terran player is losing SCVs trying to hold their natural.
Okay, that was beautiful though by Gabe. The way that he pressed hold position on those SCVs, making it very hard for the Zealots to get the surface area that they're looking for. But yep, the orbital command or the command center does get cancelled before it even finishes up. And if HeRoMaRinE wasn't like committed yet, I feel like he is incredibly committed now. But what do you even do with 3 barracks? Do you pull the boys? Maybe you just bank up like 25, 30 Marines right now and then pull SCVs and go for it, because a macro game, I just don't see you winning a macro game anymore from this position.
No. By the time he gets a 3rd base planted, there will be probably a 5th on the way for SKillous. And he'll have a fully saturated Nexi with probably like 12 gates. Right? You just can't take that much economic damage and then sit back. It doesn't work like that. That's not how StarCraft is played, ladies and gentlemen. So he's put into this, he's kind of forced into this all-in situation.
Yep. And
there's not really any upgrades for SKillous other than charge, but I think adding an Archon or 2 here against the SCVs is going to be, it's going to make this ugly, because he has to go up a ramp too if he wants to push this, and then the sentries make it worse.
Force fields can buy some time. Actually, I'm surprised he doesn't want to drop the force field. SKillous just wants to fight this. He believes his army is powerful enough. He's got a lot of shield batteries finishing up there at the top. SCVs are a bit, they might get this a little bit complicated, but that is so many Zealots storming in, Nathanius.
Yeah, he does bait the Zealots out of the Guardian shield, but there's just so many of them. Even with 1-1 on the bio, they're continuing to push this away. And the thing is, even though he's going to get through this wave of Zealots, we have to remember, he has 3 mining bases. He does not need to kill the army all at once. However, if Gabe is able to jump on top of this, no, not going to happen. GG SKillous is able to take the game. Like I was saying, at that point, it's not about just beating that army. It's about beating all the defenders' advantage that he's going to use to try and stay alive in that situation when your SCVs are all dead.
You know, I'm almost feel like I know it's very natural to wait for at least one medevac and then make a proper push when you have 2 Widow Mines as well. But I almost feel like if you want to attack this build, the specific build that SKillous went for, I think it's almost worth it to go with your first 10, 12 Marines when you have Stim. Because the Zealots at that point, they don't have charge yet. The additional gateways are not ready yet. And a 12 Marine push without anything else is actually very scary to deal with when your army is basically 4 Phoenixes and slow Zealots. Like, how do you get a good fight there? You just don't get on top of the Marines. But if the Terran play just waits a little bit longer because they want to get that medevac, that actually works in your favor if you're the Protoss player there. I think SKillous did a fantastic job in buying some time with his Phoenix, just being annoying. And he just bought enough time to have 6, 7 gateways finishing up. He had a defensive battery, and then he wipes in 7 more Zealots, and he's like, you know what? You've got 1 mine, 2 mine there. I don't care. I'm just going to run into this because I know that my army just got a massive power spike because charge finished up. I can take this fight. And that was a relatively straightforward game for SKillous.
Yeah, just well done. I mean, you don't really get a whole lot from that concussive shell Marauder opening unless you think that your opponent is doing like a proxy or a second gateway, and then you're like, boom, my Marauders tag the stalkers, and then it's all over, right? You just kill absolutely everything and it all falls apart super fast. But that's not what happened. He wasn't able to make that scenario a reality, and that's also a little bit why you see, you know, the factory openings are popular, because when you want to do that bio push, if you don't touch the Protoss economy, they're gonna style on you. You got to get damage done early on. That's the name of the game when it comes to TVP. Mine drops, Hellion drops. There's a reason why those builds are so popular.
Second map is going to be played on Death Aura, and this is once again a little bit of an upset so far. SKillous taking the 1-0 lead. Obviously, we are playing best of 5, so there is no man overboard just yet for Gabe, but that's not the way you want to start your best of 5. Tournament live on the line. Obviously, HeRoMaRinE already lost a PV or TVP series in the upper bracket against Drogo. It's got to start feeling a little scary, losing 4 out of the last 6 games in this matchup in this tournament. In the bottom right side, look at the main base of the Russian Protoss player. Very young, representing Cascade, it is SKillous.
And spawning in the northwest, we have the blue Terran player. He is HeRoMaRinE. Yeah,
Don't think
that's a tough loss, though.
I don't think we're going to see the Marauder opening again, though.
I have a strange feeling we won't. That's one of those builds that on paper it sounds cool, right? Because you don't have to build a bunker early on. You can get a free kill on a stalker or an adept that pokes you. And you know, Marauders in general are not the worst units to have if you want to play bio, right? You know, you can segue it into that 2-1-1 and sometimes get a lot of damage done, but it just doesn't really do very well against tech type openers, because for Terran, if your opponent, you know, like there's a lot of Protoss builds that are based around pressure, either with that Oracle or the Phoenix, and having the 1 or 2 Marauders, it just doesn't do the same for you as having like 10 Marines. Because you just don't have, even if the Marauders could shoot up, you can only have 2 of them there, and they're very slow. So there's no retreating once you've committed with that. They're slower than the Stalkers. So if you can't kill the Stalkers and everything else, you're guaranteed to lose them. But I mean, there's a reason why that build's not crazy popular. It has its uses to be thrown into a best of 5. I don't hate him for trying it, but yeah, we're not seeing that one again today.
To do a little bit of theory crafting, I think he was hoping to go up against the Twilight opening, where it's like Stalker.
That would be great. That would be awesome.
Yep, because then often there is a Stalker in the main that's going to prevent the Reaper from hopping up, and then there is a Stalker in the natural. If you just stack the Stalker in the natural, or you attack it in the middle of the map, then all of a sudden it's 2 Marauders against 1 Stalker. Probes are going to have to be pulled, and you end up losing 4, 5, 6 probes quite quickly. It turned out that the Phoenix against just 2 Marauders was pretty good. If it was 3 Marauders, then all of a sudden the Phoenixes are not that useful, because you only have like 1 Stalker there, and then 1 Phoenix, 1 Stalker. You wait for the second Phoenix, and it becomes a bit more complicated. But 2 Marauders was the ideal amount of Marauders to go up against with SKillous, and that just worked out really well for him. And I feel like there are not that many Protosses who play Phoenix Zealot as a start, at least. Like obviously later on into the game you'll see charge. But I think that build is so powerful against so many different Terran openings. And I'm surprised that almost nobody uses it, except SKillous. I saw him do it against Clem as well on Submarine in one of the European Pro Tour weeklies, and he also won that game. And I was like, yeah, makes sense. Powerful opening, very good in a lot of scenarios, especially because Terran players don't expect Phoenix Charge to kick in that quickly.
I was gonna say, what do you think would be what is like a risk there, right? Like if a Banshee slips in when there's no detection, I'm not 100% sure. But I guess the Phoenix are supposed to give you the scouting ability that you need to preempt that sort of play.
Okay, so I mean, I play the build a lot myself, so I've got a lot of experience with it. I gotta say, armory openings are very annoying because even though you have Phoenixes, it's hard to catch every single medevac that's leaving. And then there is good, like once they burrow in your main and you don't have detection yet, I mean, you're just in all sorts of trouble. I think Banshees, you should be able to sniff that out and scout it, but it's still annoying. But what's also very annoying is just Terran players that make it seem like they want to attack you, so you get a bit paranoid, and then they actually just build 3 CC. And Zealots are great until the bio ball gets up to like 50, 60, 70 supply of stimmed bio, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, well, can't engage this anymore with stimmed bio or with the Zealots, especially because you don't have any armor upgrades either. So it's just meant to deal with certain move outs of small armies, whether that's Marine tank or a push like this. That's where the build really shines.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Oh, did he? Okay, sorry. My dog just climbed on top of me while I was trying to unmute my microphone, and he pressed a different button to mute it. Sorry about that, but I completely agree with you. Yeah, no, you definitely need to be careful when you're leaning a little heavily on the Zealots there. And this type of mind drop play is a little bit more in the expectation of what we see, because it also does, again, it's more standard builds, right? It forces those stalkers to stay home and try to keep the Protoss player from containing you when you can pull that off. And I do actually like the Raven follow-up as well, because he wants to take observers off the table, have the possibility of the interference matrix against the Colossus. And this Hellion is going to try and cruise by and grab a probe with 8 hit points. Pretty cool if it was able to get anything done.
I don't really like the fact that HeRoMaRinE unburrowed the second mine. Like, there were too many units in range for that mine to realistically burrow, unburrow, and still fire again.
Yeah.
It was always going to go down, and at that point, you may as well take the guaranteed damage of the one probe you can get there. Once again, SKillous' early game is looking pretty clean, Nate. He spotted this medevac leaving with his hallucinated Phoenix, had his units in the right place. There is that low HP Hellion again. Trying to get
oh my god, no!
in the main base, but it goes down to a probe.
Well, it did at least kill a probe before it died. I'm a little bit flabbergasted at that one, Kevin. I don't really have anything else to add, but the hallucinated Phoenix makes its way over, and it sees a pretty, I don't know, I'm going to say reasonably greedy build. I mean, he went basically for a straight regular setup off that mine drop, but that's why you do it, right? You don't want to have to worry about the same level of pressure. You don't want your opponent to be able to comfortably just send stalkers or whatever it is across the map and try to kill you. It's very nice to be able to set up all the infrastructure in this stage and then move forward. Because the other nice thing about Death Aura for macro type players is that third base is relatively easy to hold. You have a ramp that goes into it, and the other ramp by the natural is not super exposed like on some other maps.
You know, I'm actually getting a bit worried for HeRoMaRinE in this game as well, because HeRoMaRiNE's build was definitely pretty economical, but so was SKillous. And SKillous actually went up to 3 bases just off the Robo, so he has very quick access to Colossus. Now, the downside of this build is normally that you have a hard time dealing with drops, because your army is kind of immobile. But because HeRoMaRiNE went for triple CC, he didn't really have much to worry about. Now, all of a sudden, Nate, we're looking at SKillous, who rushed into 3 bases, already has pretty high-tech units out, has had an economic lead for the entirety of this game, and now he's getting like the other additional important upgrades. And on top of that, he's adding a Dark Shrine where normally Terran players would expect a Templar Archives, because we all know the 3 Colossus push with a couple of High Templars that morph into Archons. Yeah, that's pretty powerful. DTs just kind of switch things up. And it's just not something I think you really expect as a Terran player in this phase in the game. Even though Gabe did technically see it, I don't think he realized that that was not a pylon, but it actually was a Dark Shrine being warped in the back of the main base.
Yeah, well, there are 0 missile turrets on the map, Kevin. He does have a bunker behind the mineral line in the 3rd, and he's getting a turret at the edge of his main. So I think he's now starting more. So maybe he's starting to get a little bit concerned as a couple other turrets do start up. But he's mixing in Widow Mines with this. I do like to see that. Not like the Marine Lord, Marine Tank setup. He's going to play with those burrowed mines. SKillous sees him, by the way. Excellent observer positioning. He saw the whole army of the speed zones.
SKillous' army is way more powerful here than HeRoMaRiNE's army, especially if it's not sieged up. HeRoMaRiNE is not paying attention at all. He was paying attention to a single drop in the main base. It's really not getting that much down. Losing those tanks is very painful, Nate. And yeah, a little bit of damage in the main, but I don't think that this was really the damage that HeRoMaRiNE was looking for either. This is starting to become very problematic for Gabe at this point.
He doesn't even hardly has an army after that, right? This the other tricky part about this, and I do like the mines, but defensively the mines are actually going to be pretty bad with Colossi here.
The thing is, he just picked up 3 medevacs full of bio units that just left the third while SKillous is about to attack him. HeRoMaRiNE already had quite little at home. Now HeRoMaRiNE has absolutely nothing at home. Did not expect SKillous to show up here. The medevacs are going to turn around, but the damage is already dealt here. A couple of SCPs go down, that bunker goes down, multiple depots are going to get taken out. HeRoMaRiNE in serious problem or having serious issues here in game 2.
Yeah, this is definitely not the position you want to be in. He has brought the army back, but at the cost of a dislodged third base, and these mines might detonate on some of the Archons and the Zealots, but a little bit of friendly fire drag, and when you're pulling SCVs into 3 Colossi, the game is over. They're all going to die instantly. Another Warpin's going to come in, but that's it. I mean, he's given up his economy at the chance of a defense, and he wasn't able to make it happen. SKillous goes up 2-0.
What?
And that's time for a break. You know what? We're just gonna digest that one. We'll be right back. We'll see you guys in a couple seconds. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are going into the next map and possibly the final map of this series. Kevin, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I surely appreciate having a little more time to get my wings and beer in order for tonight, but I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see it go down like this, man. I want to see Goot and Gaben climb back up. I want to see him, you know, gigantify.
Well, I think this one is far from over. Even if it's a 2-0 lead for the underdog, I think both games have been pretty damn unlucky for Gabe. We'll talk more about that as soon as we introduce these nerds on Eternal Empire. But definitely quite the upset so far here in the third best of 5 of the European part of our broadcast. In the bottom left side of Eternal, we're looking at the main base of the young Russian. Can he make his deepest WCS EPT run yet? It is SKillous.
And his opponent in the Northeast, the blue Terran player representing Mouse Sports, he is HeRoMaRinE.
All right, so if you guys just tune in and you're like, what the hell? SKillous is leading 2-0 over HeRoMaRinE. How is this possible? Well, it's complicated, as it often is, but I mean, to just dissect or break down both games so far, I think in game 1, SKillous had a great build, and it just worked fantastic against the build that HeRoMaRinE went for. I don't want to say it's a build or the loss, because obviously HeRoMaRinE didn't have to make the move out when he did and the way he did it, but it just didn't really work out. An absolutely perfect, relatively straightforward victory with just a whole bunch of Zealots. Game 2 is the kind of build where, as a Protoss player, you really don't want to face multi-prong aggression. You don't want to face non-stop Widowmine drops because you have no units, and the units you do have, they have no mobility, right? You don't have Blinkstalkers, you don't have Phoenixes to shut down drops, you don't even have an Oracle to keep track of drops. What you're hoping for is a slow and steady start to the game and just deal with the one little bit of aggression that's being thrown your way. And it worked out perfectly. And then to make things even worse, when HeRoMaRinE was busy setting up some proper harassment much later into the game, when SKillous' army was already powerful and his economy was already strong, Gabe, just not paying attention for a split second, ends up losing 2 siege tanks, a whole bunch of bio units. And if that wasn't bad enough, Nate, right when SKillous makes his, very dedicated, big attack, HeRoMaRinE picks up 3 medevacs, ready to leave, ready to do some drop action on the other side of the map. I mean, it's just disaster after disaster after disaster so far, but that has to stop, right? Eventually?
It has to. It has to, right? We need to know that the world is still spinning. Although, I mean, honestly, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if that stopped too at this point. Naturals are going up for both players, though. The Reaper sees that it's an adept opening. Out of skill is going to check in with the main base. Wants to see what there is to see. Doesn't want to lose the Reaper, though, so he backs off. But it is Twilight Council in the back of that mineral line that's being produced. Now, here's something that I'm thinking about. Is he got that Marine, then the reactor. Okay, he's going to build just the one Hellion. I was curious if you were going to see a little swap action for a drop. The starport is going to be built inside of that main base right there, too. I think
what
the Reaper might try to check in for the last.
Going to build? Is that a gateway, Nate, or is that a dark shrine? It is going to be a dark shrine. Oh. Well, this gives me some flashbacks to when HeRoMaRinE was playing in TSL and Zest basically made nothing but Dark Templars and had a lot of success against Gabe. Ever since then, I haven't seen a lot of people have success with these kinds of builds, but it's going to be charged first as well. So this is just going to be a relentless build coming out of SKillous. If you scout it right now, Nate, as a Terran player, and what you've seen, you're like, this is probably just Twilight. Now, okay, the thing is, where are the Stalkers? I still feel that this scout is going to hurt HeRoMaRinE. Like,
yeah, he's going to think it's Blink.
Exactly. You see a Stalker and you see a Twilight researching something. How do you figure out that this is actually going to be Dark Templars in charge? Like, that's crazy.
I think the only thing that might be curious, and I don't know if this would turn into underestimation, but why does he only have 1 Stalker in there, right? Like, why not warp in an extra unit when your Reaper and Hellion are actually killing probes? Maybe he's like, does he have something somewhere else that I don't know? But unless he 200 IQs it right there, then he's not going to be ready for this.
This is so important, Nate. This medevac, if it spots everything, it keeps HeRoMaRiNE's tournament dreams alive. He's boosting. He's so close. Does he see the Dark Templars? I don't think he did. He does see the probe, though. HeRoMaRiNE, there is something there on the right side.
Oh, my God. There we go.
No, but he still doesn't see the Dark Shrine.
Oh, there's another Dark Shrine.
Yeah, well, he builds a Raven, but this is still going to hurt. But there is a scan available. HeRoMaRiNE, are you paying attention to your natural? The answer is yes. And he gets the first. Oh, my goodness, Nate. This is so big. This was HeRoMaRiNE's tournament live on the line right there and then.
Yeah, and in 5 seconds, he's going to have enough energy for another scan. So SKillous is this DT is not guaranteed to survive its next foray, and that will give enough time. About 15 seconds will give the time necessary for the Raven to finish. So very good hold there so far, right?
Well, I mean, it'd be nice if the SCVs could start mining. There's a Widow Mine that blew up 8 probes on the other side of the map. Gee, well, double Widow Mine drop, but that's still pretty good damage. This
pretty good.
I feel the tension for both players actually.
This match is getting heavy. You know what's interesting to think about though, Kevin? I didn't realize this. He canceled his charge.
What?
It's only just started again. Yeah, look. Hey, look, it's like barely going now.
Yep. Oh no. What?
Did he do that to warp in the extra DT?
Maybe, but I mean that's just never good. Charge is so cheap. All right, Widow Mine drop comes back into the natural. Obviously, this is a much better game right now for HeRoMaRiNE. Already has killed 12 probes, which I believe is more probes than he killed in the previous 2 games combined. So this is definitely starting to look like something.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting choice, though. I'm like, he's like guys trying to bring coupons into the dollar store or something with that. It's not like you're breaking the bank on it. But I guess since he's not being attacked, it's not the end of the world. Charge will be done by the time something hits him. So the only real consequence, I guess, would be if he wanted Blink immediately after, and he certainly won't have that for a long time.
Well, I do think you want Blink, right? Otherwise, how are you going to deal with harassment?
That's what I'm wondering. Thinking the exact same thing. Don't know 100%. But third base is being planted down for HeRoMaRiNE now. He's going to start to take this base, try to grab those resources, this observer, in a position to see the location, the setting up of this base, but don't get too close. Oh, that's so Raven.
HeRoMaRiNE playing very safe right now, even getting a bunker there. Probably feels like, do I really need this bunker? The answer is kind of yes. Well, is it a double Raven opening? So a Raven to harass and a defensive Raven. SKillous is, I don't want to say really going for it, but Nate, this feels like a pretty big commitment to me. Obviously, there's no stim yet on the bio. I mean, this can actually still get some damage. This is actually an army that's kind of hard to take care of if you don't have stim.
Yeah, this is going to be really difficult. The bunker at the front is really the only like stronghold position that he has, and that immediately gets killed. Auto turret on its own will not be enough. A lot of zealots charging and burrowing heavily forward towards that bio army. Now he's retreated to the natural bunker. SCVs aren't preset on it, but I think if you're SKillous, I mean, dislodging the third is a pretty nice win.
Yeah, but he's also taking
probe damage.
Exactly, he's taking damage at home from the Raven. So I do like that he didn't go for it there, even though Stim wasn't totally ready yet. It's so hard to attack in that bunker. Massive warping in the main base, though. All right, this is gonna make things a little bit more complicated. I gotta say, this is such an awkward position for these zealots to be in.
Yeah, he's like trying to sandwich him from within his own base. Not something that we get to see every day here at the DreamHack, but this bunker is finally going to get picked off too. The SCVs repairing it were not enough. Auto turret's going to get dropped. That gives a little bit of that bolstered defense. As the turrets do have that one armor by default, which does actually help a lot if you can throw them in front to soak. They got 150 hit points, but man, oh man. Once again, we're looking at a 2-base Terran. He does have the third orbital. He didn't lose it, but to set it up, to reposition himself, it's not going to be easy. And something that we haven't really discussed too much either is just the general value of having that gateway on the north end of the map, that if he wants to attack, it's not necessarily going to be that hard. He doesn't have to commit the prism to get reinforcements there.
I'm actually a bit surprised that did as much damage as it ended up doing in the end. There were like 2 or 3 zealots at the bottom side of the natural that were just on top of the SCVs, and it felt that HeRoMaRiNE wasn't really paying attention. And all of a sudden, SKillous did create a 20 worker advantage for himself. Gabe does have double Raven though, so double Raven obviously means a couple of interference matrices are possible. Without the Colossus, the rest of that Protoss army isn't that good. And don't forget, these Zealots don't have any armor upgrades either. So there is potential here for HeRoMaRinE, but what a scary moment. A couple of bad force fields, if you're HeRoMaRinE that is, and all of a sudden you could be out of this tournament. He's going to stim forward. The interference matrix does land, and Gabe probably is just going to stim all the way in.
This is it. This is his window.
Colossus.
Gets one of them. The second one, move commands into the army. A massive, massive pickup there for HeRoMaRinE, but the next wave of reinforcements does come in to join this. The Zealots, as they get cleaned up, though, the rest of the army is going to be pretty vulnerable. He does not have the overcharge available anymore. It has just expired on that battery, which is now out of energy, so the Stalkers on their own are not going to be able to defend against this. Gets a good scan. Not really necessary. He has 2 Ravens there if he warps in DTs, but at the same time, he still has the Widow Mines as well, so he has that position now that he can kind of go to and fro on. And he can't just try to warp in Zealots from the backside and flank him because he has 4 Widow Mines blocking it off. This third base under a tremendous amount of pressure from HeRoMaRinE.
Yep, the probes are being pulled, but there are still Widow Mines that are getting decent shots off as well. And obviously gateway units alone without any armor upgrades, they just don't stand much of a chance. Finally, there is another Colossus. This time there won't be interference matrix, but I think HeRoMaRinE has already kind of dealt the damage here that he was looking for. But I think he can still get more. He's stimming forward one more time. There are no Zealots to buffer. HeRoMaRinE keeps his tournament dreams alive as he takes down the last few Stalkers and takes a tremendous lead in this game.
Yeah, he's sitting up pretty. A nice 40 supply lead in Terran versus Protoss is something that you absolutely cannot scoff at. That one Colossus is trying to put in the overtime, but as his friends fall, so does he. And I believe very soon that will lead to a GG. Another Colossus is going to come out at the last second from this Robo, but trying to fight off 5 Marauders on its own? No, not going to happen. HeRoMaRinE gets on the board.
Man, that still got so hectic and so close, Nate. If those force fields on that ramp are a little bit better, if the Colossus do not derp, like what happened there is obviously once a Terran player cast interference matrix on the Colossus, and the Colossus are part of the group that you send to a move, the Colossus are like, well, we can't shoot, but we're gonna run in, we're gonna headbutt everything, and that's obviously terrible because they're not doing anything. If SKillous has better force fields there, and the moment those 2 Colossi get interference matrix and he pulls them to the left the way he shoot instead of the right, that actually becomes really close, I think. And if he holds successfully, HeRoMaRinE would have been in so much trouble again. Man, what a series. Oh my goodness, Nate. The excitement, the favorite in this much trouble, still down 1-2. The drama.
The drama, the tension. It's all unfolding here at the DreamHack Masters. Yeah, it's been wild. And actually, to give a little bit of a shout out, it was a bit hard to see, but he actually used 3 interference matrices there. One of them got onto one of the sentries. I think he tried to get the one with full energy specifically to make those force fields a little bit harder. I think he had 3 sentries with that defensive force, but you're 100% right. If he's able to get the force fields down, like as the interference matrix comes in, then he has time for the Colossi to be able to actually fight. And the difference between a handful of gateway units and a handful of gateway units and 2 Colossi, it's a pretty big freaking difference, Rotterdam.
Yep, those 2 Colossus were more important than the rest of the army combined. That's just the way it is. Those gateway units without any armor upgrades, while the bio of HeRoMaRinE did, of course, have those 1-1 upgrades, they just don't do very much unless they come in as in absolutely overwhelming numbers like we saw in Everdream. But in those numbers where it's like somewhat close, like no, gateway units are not going to cut it. You'll need those Colossus. And I mean, that got really close, man. I really feel that SKillous got a lot more damage done with his silly Archon Zealot attack, and then the Prism in the main as well that distracted HeRoMaRinE, and then 3 Zealots just killed like 17 SCVs in the natural. What a best of 5 this is so far. In the bottom left side, we're looking at the main base of the Russian Protoss. He's still up 2-1, representing Team Cascade. It is SKillous.
And his opponent in the northeast getting on the board, trying to bring this one back. He is HeRoMaRinE. I'm very interested to see what he breaks out this game.
And legit, like
series.
I legit can feel sort of the nerves of these guys, right, in some of these close moments. And obviously, HeRoMaRinE came in with a lot of expectations this season. Like last season, Gabe had a top 4 finish, and that's really good. But that's almost where we kind of expect HeRoMaRinE to be, right? And we're kind of waiting for him to break through that barrier of top 4 and make it to maybe the grand final, or even potentially win the entire thing. I know, very unlikely, Reina, Zero, etc. But if you can win 16 out of 35 Open Cups, I mean, the expectations are going to be pretty high. Not many people expected Gabe to be here. In losing in the upper bracket, round 1 against Drogo in a very close series, now still being down against SKillous, quite the upset.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Drogo's been like, he found some weird like a temple on top of a mountain and made some like sacrifices, because he has started to summon some dark meme magic for his Protoss builds. And when I think about Drogo, he has improved in my eyes like very, very quickly in a very sharp way with the way that he's been playing his matchups, especially like his PvP last season was just something to like, your eyes just kind of bug out of your head. You're like, oh my God, like this is just weird, right? Like everybody says this stuff is bad, but here he is clapping with it. And that's probably been the coolest story, I think, of this DreamHack of the fall season, is we've just got quite a few players in spots that we didn't quite expect, right? A laser, Lambo out down in the lower bracket to Gerald of all players, right? Like this was the tournament. He was going to just turn it on. And even as close as the match was, right? You know, a win is a win. And it's been very entertaining. I don't know. I kind of like it when I'm not sure who's gonna come out on top. And I feel like that question is becoming harder and harder to answer as we make it through these games.
I'm 100% with you. It's of course always fun to talk about newcomers, up-and-coming players, people that definitely have been getting better, but if they always fall short, then eventually it's like, well, what does that really mean? And, well, we're seeing in this tournament that it means quite a bit when they do actually get it done. Gerald having the run of his lifetime at this point, and even SKillous. I mean, not many people would always just predict SKillous to finish top 12 in a tournament like this. If you think of the European scene, it's so easy to just name 20 excellent StarCraft 2 players, so making top 12 is already awesome. Now one map away from breaking into the top 8, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that'd just be massive for SKillous.
Yeah, no, absolutely huge. And again, as you just said, another will be a huge upset, right? For HeRoMaRinE to be taken out at this stage, because he is a player that we talk up a lot. And the reason we do that is because he's good. I mean, these two Hellions, though, squeeze in and grab a sentry. Does get the hallucination out, which is nice, but potential for 2 Hellions, even with no health. We all know those flamethrowers still work when the Hellions are about to die, Rotterdam. 2 probes at the start in a sentry. Come see, come saw.
Yeah, pretty damn good, I think, for the Hellions, but more importantly, I think for SKillous is that he got that hallucinated Phoenix. Oh, the Marines, though, shot it down, but at least that Phoenix got in deep enough to see that there is a starport with a spinning tech lab. Now, that could be a fake, because HeRoMaRinE has been building quite a few Ravens, but if I'm SKillous, I'm taking this pretty serious.
Yeah, this is definitely, like I said, one of the good openers. We talked about this earlier. Marine Lord did bust it out once in this PvP series, the Banshee play. There's a ton of strength to being able to kind of pin somebody back. I actually like that random mine. I thought it was going to die, but being able to kind of zone out at all when your opponent wants to have their observers at home too, right? There's a couple of different things that are going to synergize with this, and a good early poke onto the third base. I don't like letting the Banshee die. I think trying to pull it back would be a nice play, but he's not going to go into mech or go full TY. He just kind of wanted to do something, and I guess that was something.
Yeah, getting a couple probes is nice. Is there another Banshee? The answer is yes. SKillous does have a... Oops. I have been disconnected.
Okay, I don't see Kevin in the call. I'm not 100% sure if he's going out on air right now, so I will continue to speak. It's possible that he's still being picked up on the other thing that we're using, so if we're talking over each other, I apologize. Charge is about to finish for SKillous, and of course, with the third base getting situated, not quite the fast saturation that you maybe would typically be looking to see in this type of phase of the game, because of a little bit of the Hellion harass, a little bit of the Banshee harass, but it's nothing catastrophic for SKillous, who still finds himself in a nice spot, as that Raven is going to be popping out here for HeRoMaRinE to help deal with the observer that's in his base. But a Warp Prism coming out does make me feel like there's a possibility he's going to try to use that fast charge to pin HeRoMaRinE back from doing a sort of attack that he might want to go for, or he wants to dislodge the third because HeRoMaRiNE's been playing with a pretty fast third base throughout a couple of these macro games, and he was able to capitalize on it by dislodging it in the last game. I mean, he didn't win the last game because that big fight where HeRoMaRinE got the really good interference matrices off, but it certainly has a lot of weight to it that in that situation, he was not able to actually keep the third base there. So maybe SKillous going to try to play this one a little bit cleaner, try to put that pressure on, or he could just use the Prism to say, hey, I'm going to kill you if you move your whole army out. Throw down some missile turrets, build some static defense, kind of, you know, clamp down a little bit on the Terran player, if you will. Don't let them run free.
I think I'm back with you, Nate. Can you hear me?
Yes, Kevin. Hello.
All right. I just got disconnected from the call, even though I had no other additional issues. That's so weird.
Internet. Anything can happen, good or bad.
All right. Well, I had to alt tab a couple of times because obviously it's stressing out a little bit, but I'm back. Did I miss anything, Nate? The second Banshee went down. What did it get?
Not really much. We have a Prism out. Charge was ready. Basically just looking like he wanted to try and knock him off the third base again like the last game, but Gabe kind of pulled back and started to defend. And I think SKillous is still going to try to attack him. He's decided to take the third now, which makes me nervous.
Taking a look at the army of SKillous. I mean, in a wide open area, it does pretty good, but I love the army positioning of HeRoMaRinE at this point. Right? Okay, right when I say that, he's going to unsiege a lot of things. This could be perfect for SKillous. There is obviously a sentry in the mix as well. Guardian Shield's very important. That Observer is giving him so much vision. Oh no, I don't like this at all for HeRoMaRinE. He is going to pull back behind his tanks. Nate, is that enough, Darren?
I'm not sure. He has the Prism. 4 Zealots were inside of it. Interference Matrix is going to prevent any reinforcements from warping in. This is absolutely massive because once he kills the Archon, I'm not gonna lie, man. If he had been able to just add 7 Zealots right there, I think there's a possibility things start to snowball if that Archon has that meat shield in front of it. But that was actually a really, really ace interference matrix out of the Raven to prevent any units from being added to that fight by SKillous.
Yeah, that was so clutch by Gabe, because I'm with you. If there's 5, 6, 7 more Zealots, then all of a sudden the Zealots run in front of the Archons. The Archons get a few more shots off on those Marines, and that fight looks completely different. No, HeRoMaRinE is the one with the better army, but SKillous does have a couple sentries to buy some time here. There are Zealots that are going to try to run into the third, and even though HeRoMaRinE has this HeRoMaRinE bunker set up, it's not filled up yet with Marines.
Yeah, it's the hard part, right? He wants to move across the map. He wants to deal damage, but bunkers cost supply. He's going to have to give up part of his army to leave units there to try and hold off against that harass. And he doesn't want to do that. He wants to attack. Get a good cancel on that 4th base. He's headed into the main with 4 medevacs. Large Zealot Warpin is going to be brought in to help stave this off, but needs to get, I mean, honestly, not a tremendous amount of Stalkers are able to get up to the front of this. So I think the medevacs are all going to be able to get out of dodge. Really just lost 1 medevac worth of units for a 4th cancel and a lot of Warpins spent by SKillous.
And it opens the entire map, right? If SKillous uses his entire army to defend his main base, what else is there on the top side? The answer is not much. He is going to send a few more units over. I don't want to... Okay, it's actually barely in time because there's battery overcharge as well. And of course, a cannon that's going to give him detection with those mines. Well done there by SKillous. Not completely falling apart, but when I say that, the sentries are running away from the rest of the army as HeRoMaRinE is still active with his forces on the bottom side of the map as well.
Yeah, runs up onto the Colossus at the 3rd base. The shield battery is able to keep it alive, but he's going to be able to burrow 2 of the Motor Mines. And that splash is going to drag across quite a few of the Protoss forces, almost killing that Archon. And he's got his 2 split forces, so he's really stretching SKillous thin. He's actually going to try to turn it into a sandwich. Dives on the Colossus again, and he does whiff one more time. So Zealots get a few more swipes off, but the Marines are going to be able to deal with them. I'm actually blown away that that one Colossus is actually still standing.
I'm blown away that SKillous has been able to survive all of this, and obviously he's not totally out of the wood. No,
Oh,
Raiders,
not like
what
this.
Are you doing? The Zealot dragging the Widowmine shot.
Oh, that's... Well, that right there is Protoss nightmares. The only thing missing is killing the Observer too.
Yeah, that would have been the icing on the cake.
That's a rough moment.
Now, HeRoMaRinE does have +2, and obviously +2 is fantastic against the Protoss army that doesn't have any armor upgrades. But SKillous' army, if he would have had another Colossus alive, I was really kind of starting to feel it. I feel Gabe has done good, Nate, but I feel like he needs a little more than he's been getting so far.
Yeah, at the end of the day, SKillous is going to be able to get on that 4 base setup. However, I do feel that in any scenario where the Terran can be on an even economic keel with Protoss, that's usually going to favor Terran, because we talk about how the Protoss gets their third a lot faster. Usually that fourth is faster, and then it's hard for Terran to get the third. But in a situation where the Terran's on 3 bases, is able to deal damage, delay the fourth, get their fourth at the same time, I still like a lot of the opportunity that HeRoMaRinE has to work with. I feel like SKillous, the supply difference is usually we're like, yeah, Colossi, Archons, they can kind of mitigate a lot of that, but he's definitely going to need to find an opening with either a Prism or a run by to prevent HeRoMaRinE from being able to just build that ultimate Terran army, since he has, as I said, you know, a really good economy.
Yep, but I do also believe in SKillous' opportunity when he gets a couple of disruptors out. And we can take a look at the production tab. The first one just popped, the second one is on the way. And then I feel like we're one Nova away from all of a sudden giving a big edge to SKillous in this game. So this game is far from over, and this is going to be a very important moment. HeRoMaRinE made a Reaper by accident again. He has a couple ghosts in the mix. There is the first Nova. Good job by Gabe, of course, avoiding it. This is it. The Colossus are kind of in an awkward spot here, right? Because there are a couple of very good locations for these Vikings. The Stalkers on the top side of our screen just running into the bio army there. SKillous losing 3-4 units before the fight starts is not what he's looking for.
No, and look at the way he's using this air position with the Vikings. So many of them, even with an overcharged battery, it's not enough to actually protect the Colossus from that big air force, and an EMP slams down onto this. The Disruptor pretty much has to start to save this right here. Right now, Vikings are going to land. HeRoMaRinE wants to try to punch it in. He's going to get 2 Vikings for that Disruptor shot, but Gabe is adding 3 command centers, 3 upgrades, triple Liberator production, Fusion Core, just everything, and +2 ship weapons. So this defending is not enough alone in this situation for SKillous, because Gabe he's stupid rich right now.
He is, but SKillous is still trying to catch up in upgrades, and he's about to have his first armor upgrade. There's +3 on the way. He's going very far forward with his Novas, or his Disruptors rather. But he does land a good Nova. The second one is going to whiff, but I mean, he went up to 5 bases during all of this, SKillous that is. And maybe he's still hanging in there, and I really think the main reason is the observers that he has spaced out. They're giving him so much vision. They're keeping track of this HeRoMaRinE army, because without it, this would have been an absolute nightmare. With the observers, it's just all horrible.
That's an adventurous blink he makes, trying to get real aggressive on this army, realizing there is a little bit of an opportunity since he shaved off enough units. He's just going to grab a Viking on the way out as a Warpin on the north side gets pushed away. HeRoMaRinE says, yeah, I'll take a 5th base too. I can do that. That sounds good. That sounds great to me.
I do love the fact that Gabe is transitioning into those Liberators with advanced ballistics a lot quicker than some of the other Terrans we've seen in this tournament. Obviously, he's got the money for it. Still needs to be a bit careful, because Gabe does not have the same vision that SKillous has. Because that is where those Disruptors, or those Observers rather, that are spread across the map really shine. There are 4 ops. Well, at this point 3. There were 4 before one just went down. And they've really been doing a fantastic job and keeping driving his army forward blink into the only Liberator that is sieged up, but still an adventurous fight, I'd say.
You know, unsieging the Liberators at the exact frame that your opponent blinks into you is certainly a rough position to be in, because I was just about to compliment HeRoMaRinE on that +2 ship weapons, and you know, it's kind of a meme, I guess, at this point, but I love bringing it up. It changes the dynamic of the Liberator versus the Stalker. Just 2 hits to kill them is absolutely massive. That army will evaporate in seconds if you attack into Liberators with those upgrades, and it was gutsy for him to go for it, but it paid off, because HeRoMaRiNE's like, oh yeah, I guess he's not going to attack. I can leave.
SKillous is ready for this little hit spot, as well as he saw it with that Observer that he still has very well placed. I said this a couple of times during some of the broadcasts we've had. I think HeRoMaRinE is fantastic across the board, but yeah, he's not very good at spotting those observers, and that just makes his life so much harder, because it gives the Protoss the heads up. It will always tell them where they should place their defensive units. Liberators are going to siege up here. There is a blink immediately. Only a single Liberator remains. Vikings are coming in from the right side, though. They might be able to get a good fight, but SKillous is truly doing a phenomenal job in weathering the storm and staying alive in this game, and you could even say he might be ahead right now.
Yes, I was about to say, you know, he's finally built up enough power units. After he made the first big defense, I'm like, yeah, it's just kind of gateway units though, right? Where's the Big Daddy Colossus to say, hey, I can actually counterattack and try to kill you? And here they are. Those Vikings, not really in numbers large enough to contest this. And the Disruptor with the Purification over is going to be able to say, hey, you cannot actually defend your base. I'm just going to stay here, send these waves out one at a time, and do my best to kind of pin you back. And thus far, it has been pretty successful. More Liberators are going to come out. He needs those to zone these units away.
Yep, HeRoMaRinE really needs to get these units out ASAP, and he needs them in high numbers. He keeps having 4 Liberators and then lose all 4 of them. Better than ever get up 6 or 7. Another forward blink. That's going to cost a lot of Stalkers, but can the Novas make up for it? I don't really know about this fight, Nate. All the Disruptors went down. Great job by HeRoMaRinE. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, attacking into +2 libs. That's what will happen. The Stalkers died pretty much instantly. And now you run into this awkward position where eventually, if he has enough Liberators left over and he keeps killing all the Stalkers and Archons, the Liberators will just be able to kill the Colossi themselves. Not something you get to see every day.
What a sick game for HeRoMaRinE. His tournament lives on the line. One Nova goes forward. Great job there by HeRoMaRinE sniping it. The rest of the army I don't think is that powerful. I actually think HeRoMaRinE can maybe go for it here. He's going to think about it, and he is going to go for it. He does stim again, which means the bio's a little bit low on his speed. But Nate, look at the Liberators. They're going ham.
Absolutely kill everything. I mean, fighting in Liberator zones is pretty much #1 worst way to die when you play Protoss. I'm not sure. I think even getting Ghost Rush hurts less than having 8 Liberators kill your whole army in 4 seconds. That was a brutal fight. Now, the other side is that SKillous still has pretty good economy. He's got a good amount of money coming in, but can he actually build what he needs to stop this? I'm not really sure. I think that's the big problem, right? You typically try to see maybe a fleet bacon or something, get some air to air when you have this many Liberators, but Stalkers on their own just really struggle against this type of siege up. You almost want to go for a honestly, I don't even really know what you're supposed to do in this situation for SKillous. This is as rough as it could possibly be. Liberation zones continue to siege forward, locking him back.
It really does feel that all those extra command centers and orbital commands have kicked in for HeRoMaRinE. He's been able to pump out so many units. SKillous is going to try to go all the way around, but HeRoMaRinE is aware of this. Great scan there as well. I believe he caught a glimpse of those Dark Templars too, so Gabe is now aware of those as well. On siege is everything though. Maybe this is the moment that SKillous is going to go for it one more time. I like the Stalker positioning there, but the Colossus are still in big trouble.
Yeah, he's shooting some of the Vikings. A lot of the Liberators are still alive. I like to see the DTs in there, but he has not been able to land a single juicy Disruptor shot. And I think that's another one of the big factors that is going to end up haunting him from this game. He invested a lot into that tech, wasn't really able to give him what he needed out of it. And look at this reinforcement line. Liberators, 6 ghosts coming in, and their ghosts are never going to be bad against Protoss, especially when your opponent is no longer any Disruptors. He's going to add a nuke onto this. +1 vehicle plating is done. He's going to dive on the rest of this army, and that's going to do it for game number 4. HeRoMaRinE ties things up.
During that entire last minute of the game, there were 2 Liberators going crazy as well on the bottom side, killing 22 probes, keeping HeRoMaRinE his tournament hopes and dreams alive. That got so close, Nate. When SKillous started pouncing on that 3rd base of HeRoMaRinE, everything felt a bit clumped up. It's like, is this it? Is HeRoMaRinE eliminated? Well, then SKillous blinked forward into a whole bunch of Liberators, and I feel that turned everything around. What a game. What a series so far. My goodness.
Yeah, what a series indeed. Yeah, going to game 5 again. And this has just been absolutely wild. Players asking for a break. I think we're going to take a break, ladies and gentlemen. When we return, the conclusion of HeRoMaRinE versus SKillous. Another nail biter of a Terran vs. Protoss series. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the DreamHack Masters Fall. And we are going into game number 5 one more time. Rotterdam, this series has kind of brought a little bit of everything, a little bit of aggression, a lot of macro games, some attacks out of left field, but also a comeback. HeRoMaRinE able to win 2 games in a row to bring us to game number 5.
Yep, but those were not typical HeRoMaRinE victories, right? Like if we compare it to the victories he's been having in the weeklies where it just all looked so simple, so straightforward, and it's like scout, react, walk to the other side of the map and win. It's been none of that. In both games, I was actually incredibly worried for Gabe that this was it, that he was eliminated from the tournament. Like that push up the ramp on Eternal Empire while he was down 16, 17 SCVs. Force field's a bit better, the Colossus don't derp into the army. I think Gabe's in trouble. And here on Ice and Chrome, when SKillous was gearing up for that big attack into the third base of HeRoMaRinE, at one point I look at that army of HeRoMaRinE, it's like, he doesn't have much left. And let's not forget about that clutch interference matrix in the beginning of the game as well on that War Prism. My goodness, Nate. Game 5, and another Game 5 here today at the DreamHack SC2 Masters Fall lower bracket for the European part of our show. In the top right side, this man secured a 2-0 lead for himself. Can he still close it out and cause the upset? It is the SKillous.
And his opponent in the bottom left, winning 2 games in a row to bring this back to the rubber match. He is HeRoMaRinE. Yeah, man, what a series. Ugly series, but fun, exciting.
I find it super exciting, especially because we've got the underdog story against like the big favorite, the crusher in the European scene. And SKillous didn't just take a 2-0 lead, but he got so close to closing it out in game 3, in game 4. Somehow we stayed alive and we're here in game 5. I gotta give all the kudos to Gabe though for also staying calm and composed, where it felt like it was starting to fall apart, right? At first it's like, all right, he survived the first big attack with that awesome interference matrix. I think he's gonna be okay here. And he got damage and he kept getting damage, but he couldn't break SKillous. And all of a sudden, I mean, we both said it's like, SKillous is actually in a pretty good spot right now. He's got Colossi, he's got Disruptors, he's got Archons, and he is going for it. And that is a terrifying Protoss army. It is truly amazing that HeRoMaRinE did not crumble under the pressure there and also survived. It's just really fun StarCraft.
Yeah, well, I think there were definitely a few moments, and especially in that early game, particularly as you called out the Warp Prism getting hit with the interference matrix and the recall on the probe. He does not want to lose the probe to that Reaper. Rat would prefer to keep it alive.
Yeah, that's technically better. I know some people were like, isn't it better to chrono boost the Nexus? People have crunched the numbers, Nate, and it turns out that recalling your probe is actually slightly better for your economy than chrono boosting your Nexus.
That might be true, Kevin. That might be true, but I don't know. I think Terran players in general hate chrono boosts so much.
Yeah,
I don't think any of us care. If I see the Protoss recall the probe, I'm like, thank you, one less chrono.
No, but it's actually better for the Protoss economy. I know that you Terrans think that every time we chrono the next size, 7 probes fall out of the sky, but it's not that good, mate. It helps, but it ain't that good. Yeah.
Is it? No, if the numbers have been crunched, then
yeah,
I'm a man of science, Kevin. I believe in numbers and statistics. So I will say that doesn't make sense to me, but it's okay. Doesn't have to.
I'm in the same boat. I was like, really? Is that actually what it is? And I was like, well, took a look at the numbers. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty spot on. It's hard to argue over numbers. So I was like, well, I guess this just means that we need to buff Chrono Boost, and Chrono Boost is not good enough. But I digress.
I suppose that's a good point.
All right. Well, decent little scout.
This is an interesting way to do it. I mean, I feel like the biggest weakness of this turns into, right, you don't really have that harass ability, but if the Hellions can squeeze by and get something done, then I like this a lot.
All right, do you remember game 2 where SKillous played on Death Aura? He went 3 bases up very quickly, 3-gate Robo, incredibly good economy, and HeRoMaRinE went defensive triple CC as the Hellion squeeze into the natural, by the way.
Oh, and the Reaper's in the main.
Yep. No, this is already going to hurt. This game, Nate, I'm going to be the anti-hype guy, okay? And I want to be wrong, but this game is going to be a disaster. 6 probes have gone down. This is an amazing start for HeRoMaRinE, but even better, Nate, than the 6 probes is the fact that HeRoMaRinE is going to have very quick access to those things I was talking about on Death Aura. Multiple medevacs with stimmed bio, and that's not something you can deal with if you have the build of SKillous.
And you know what? You know what just happened too? At the same time, it's interesting, he didn't swap the starport, but what's interesting is the Observer has to make its way from the east side of the map to the main because the hallucinated Phoenix went over the natural first and the bunker killed it. The hallucinated Phoenix never made it into the main base from what I could see. So I'm not 100% sure that he is even aware that there's not a more economic play being made here by HeRoMaRinE.
Well, this is an absolutely fantastic start for HeRoMaRinE. Not just the 6 probes, guys, because you might be like, oh, Hellions, Reaper, they cost money as well. But it's the builds that are going up against each other here. I truly feel that HeRoMaRinE has all the tools right now to just outplay SKillous. And that's not because he's way better as he picks up the Adept as well, but that's because he's going to have a quicker army, a much more mobile army, and a stronger army as well. Maybe not necessarily in the straight-up fight, but if we hit multiple locations at once, I think it's going to be good. The medevac, though, does get intercepted by these Stalkers. I don't know how you do it, SKillous. Slow Stalkers. No. Okay, he does lose a Stalker. Well, that's a start for the Russian, but Nate, this is going to be so difficult for SKillous. So difficult.
Yeah, a lot of Marines are showing up. As you were saying, the medevacs aren't necessarily required if you can get the bio on top of regular old gateway units. Now, he does have the shield battery overcharge, which he's able to at least out DPS it for the sentry and get that kill. Now he's just going to run over to the natural and say, hey, I'm going to pick up a pylon or 2 and try to go for the probes, but Big Daddy Colossus is out. He only got 3 probe kills, up to 4 now, so it's something a little bit better, but Big Daddy Colossus, well, he set things straight.
All right, there is a Widowmine running into the 3rd base, though, and I don't think SKillous saw it because he was paying attention to Widowmine. He does see it and only loses a single worker. Sends his army into the main base as well. Can he deal with this mine drop too? Oh, yeah, I guess he kind of can. HeRoMaRinE did not switch targets there. Well done by SKillous.
Beast mode by SKillous here. I thought he would. I mean, there was game-ending potential damage there for HeRoMaRinE, and denying the mine drop initially, and then, well, honestly, losing the medevac, right? Like not being able to bring that back with the bio, and then you just have a bunch of naked Marines stimming, and you're like, okay, well, that's not gonna help.
Once again, SKillous has an excellent observer setup. Just take a look at the minimap, guys. There are 4 observers, 1 on the other side of the map, and then 3 defensive observers that can keep track of those drops, and that's something you really need. Look at that Widowmine being annoying.
He's spending 700 APM to do that, though. So yeah, it's time to let it just let it shoot. Don't forget to do all the other things you have to do.
Alright, so HeRoMaRinE is going up to 3 bases during all of this. I actually think some non-stop 2-base aggression would have gotten the job done. But Gabe's like, nope, I want to go into 3 bases. I don't want to risk it. I don't want to somehow lose my medevacs and then lose all the momentum most of the game. So this game not over yet. Now I do start to get a little bit worried again for HeRoMaRinE. I know I mentioned it on Isaac Chrome, and I always mention it when I cast Gabe, and I feel a bit bad about it. But if he never takes care of the observers, Nate, he's gonna have a tough time finding openings.
Yeah, just that vision has been really good. You've already pointed this out a few times, but SKillous has been pretty on top of that vision. He's been very good with his observers. That one does finally get grabbed, but he always tries to put them in those weird places where they have vision of near important stuff without really being exposed, It's not like Babby's first observer where they just try to put it over your natural entrance, right? And everyone's like, yeah, duh, that's always where the observer is. He's like, he puts a little bit more thought into it. He's a little bit more careful.
That's kind of SKillous is now actually walking to the other side of the map. I don't really know why, because he doesn't have charge. Thermal lens is only halfway done. He did see these medevacs being picked up, I believe, in the center, but now 8 Marines are going to stim into his 3rd base, and that's going to hurt already because these probes are very, very exposed. And then don't forget about the other drops. At the same time, though, how much can SKillous get done here, Nate? This game is about to get wild, but I don't like this move out from SKillous. Yeah,
I think the chance to kill the command center was always close to 0. The SCVs getting pulled very quickly was nice. But now he's got to burn this recall. He's got to bring a whole bunch of his army back. And if you're HeRoMaRinE, that means you also know you got 2 minutes now before recall is on the table. So if SKillous tries to leave his base again, just send it all.
Yep, I mean, these drops have done a pretty decent amount of damage, and more importantly, HeRoMaRinE kept all of the units alive. He didn't throw away any of these medavacs, so he's gonna try his luck one more time. The Colossi are pretty far out of position. These Stalkers, Nate, I mean, they don't have Blink, so they're like one of the worst units ever to deal with drops. Oh no.
How's that for an Artosis pylon, by the way? 3 gateways, the Robo unpowered, and he also looked like he was supply blocked prior to that too. Yeah, he's building 4 pylons now to try and catch up. We have Blink on the way. We have DT Blink on the way. Shadow Stride. And that +2, by the way, I don't think... Yeah, that hasn't been repowered yet. So his +2's been delayed by well over a minute now.
HeRoMaRinE doesn't make a mistake with his tanks. I think he's going to have a very good time here. He does have a couple of fire units in one of these medavacs. He needs to unload that. SKillous has seen his army. He knows it's coming. Is SKillous going to engage before the tanks have sieged up? The answer is yes, but I'm not sure if he's got enough, Nate. It's a couple of zealots without any armor. SKillous is in trouble.
Good target fire by the tanks onto the Stalkers. Does need to get rid of the Colossi, though. Second one shows up for this fight. We have 2 Vikings alive. Not sure they can do it all on their own, though. And SKillous is going to be able to hold that third base position a little bit, but man, hemorrhaging massive losses in the main. Let's not forget that robotics facility is a prime target if he's able to kill all of the reinforcing units.
Yep, and everything is unpowered again. Once again, lost power to those 3 gateways. The Robo is unpowered, and it's a single Robo, obviously, at this game, or in this game for SKillous. So that means there are no additional power units coming out right now. Good job taking that fight on the left side. I think that one Colossi being in range of the overcharged battery helped out for a little while, but SKillous still took a lot of damage in the main base from the drops. And HeRoMaRinE is, I would say, at the verge of a pretty epic comeback. Was in all sorts of trouble in this best of 5. Down 0-2, was in some trouble in game 3, was in trouble in game 4, but I gotta say, this has been a dominant game coming out of Big Gabriel.
Oh yeah, Zealots charging over towards that double drop outside the third base, but plenty of bio there to deal with it. 2 more medevacs reinforcing the main, by the way, landing on the Colossus, unloading over it, killing everything. And it's just charged Zealots trying to be warped in. I actually really like the photon cannon and the shield battery put next to those center gateways. That makes it a little bit trickier for him to continue this attack. Man, Gabe is really laying into him, though. I feel like I'm watching a boxer who just keeps throwing, like just trying to knock the other guy out. But, you know, he's still got a 50 supply lead. So I'm like, well, I don't think he's going to get gassed anytime soon.
It's kind of funny that Gabe has done all of this of single eBay, right? Like, that's not something we normally see. He had 2-1 upgrades of a single eBay, and he's now even firing up +3, but he is getting a second eBay, so the armor upgrades can catch up as well. I'm definitely with you. It feels like nothing but haymakers, and eventually one of them has to land. I mean, the biggest issue, I think, for SKillous is that his Robos have been unpowered for what feels like the last 4 minutes in this game. So he's got 1 Colossi, 1 Colossus, and besides that, it's nothing but gateway units, again, without any armor upgrades. And Nate, we know how those fights end.
Yeah, they end very badly. Very badly, Rotterdam. That's the answer. Zealots with no armor upgrades are pretty trash versus Marines that have +2 attack. The Colossus dies, the Vikings are going to land, and the Stalkers on their own will not be able to save the day here. GG, SKillous